Hey, Jason Sulliman here. I wanted to demonstrate an exercise that I do. I recently posted an exercise called Extended Arpeggios, where I worked through arpeggios that were grounded in a harmonic framework that is akin to the Western classical music tradition that we tend to work from. It primarily went through a 1-5-1 harmonic progression. You should check that video out if you haven't. This video is going to take us more into contemporary harmonies or contemporary musical components, if you will. It's one thing that I do for my upper register, and I also do it to develop fluidity on the instrument. So let's get going. I'm going to start with minor seconds. A couple of things. As always, I'm going to be on my wobble board. If you're interested in more information about that, check out my wobble board video. I'm also going to be using my smart metronome, where some of the beats are randomly missing. It happens to be set to 150 beats a minute. We'll go with that. So let's play some minor seconds. I'm just going to do 5 notes at a time. Etc., etc. I can keep working up the range of the instrument. That's great because it's chromatic patterns, and that's something that we need to know. Now I'm going to do whole steps. Now whole steps end up making a whole tone scale, which is again something that you're going to see in the music. So 5 notes, whole steps. Let's do minor thirds. Now, if you stack up minor thirds, you're doing diminished arpeggios. Again, something that's going to come up in contemporary repertoire. Etc., etc. And if you do major thirds, now you're working augmented arpeggios. Again, something you're going to see in that 20th or 21st century music. And so as the intervals get larger and larger, you're working on a different component that you're going to find in the repertoire. So it's good to know these patterns, but you're also working on a wider range within this 5-note grouping. And so you've got that requires a level of agility all over the instrument. So I could do perfect fourths, I could do tritones, perfect fifths. You can keep going. Do some perfect fourths here. Etc., etc. So there's a couple of benefits from this. Number one, as you do larger intervals, you're going to be developing a wider amount of agility over a wider amount of range. And then you just take the patterns up chromatically, and you get to points where certain notes just don't speak very well. You work them out, and next thing you know, you're developing a level of ease over the instrument. But the other thing you're doing is that as these patterns show up in the repertoire, you're becoming more familiarized to these particular patterns of contemporary music. And if that's something that you're going to play, and if you play a bass trombone, that's something that you're going to play. So it's something worth working up. Now, the other way that you can increase the level of difficulty is by adding more notes. So let's go back to minor seconds, and instead of doing 5 notes, I'm going to add a bunch of notes. I'll do 9 notes now. You can keep working up and up the range. Let's do whole steps, and let's do 7 notes. Well, let's do 8 notes. You just work your way up. You get to the point where you're familiar with the patterns. etc., etc., etc. So one of the great things about using these, what I would call symmetrical interval patterns, is that they start getting very repetitive. Obviously, if you're doing minor seconds, you go up a half step, and all of the notes, except for that first note, or the last note, depending on how you look at it, is going to be a repeat. When you're doing whole steps, there's only two different groups of notes that you're going to be working between. You start on the B flat, and you've got B flat, C, D, E. Or you start on the B, and you've got B, C sharp, you can call it E flat, and then F. And then those two patterns kind of toggle back and forth. And so you become very familiar with those patterns. Minor thirds, there's only 3 versions. Major thirds, there's only 4 versions. And so as you go through these patterns, you become very familiar with what you're going to see in the repertoire. So the ways to increase the level of challenge are obviously doing more notes per breath. So you can do 7 notes, 8 notes, 10 notes, what have you. And the way that I like to gauge it is how much range am I covering by doing the whole thing. So if I do an octave's worth of minor seconds, or if I do an octave and a half worth of major seconds. Obviously, you can increase the tempo or decrease the tempo. When you increase the tempo, you need an increased level of fluidity and agility. When you decrease the tempo, obviously you're going to be taxing your ability to play it through towards the end of your breath. And it's very tricky to work your way up to those high notes right on the end of the breath without pinching or squeezing. If you're doing anything weird, it's not going to come out. And then the other way is obviously to increase the size of the interval. So as you start doing perfect fourths, tritones, perfect fifths, minor sixths, I've done the exercise all the way up to octaves, but I'm not going to demonstrate that today. That one still needs a little work. So I'm going to post this exercise in PDF form on my website, www.jasonsulliman.com. Be sure to check it out. And what I plan on doing with a lot of these exercises is, I don't know, maybe every 4 months or so, I'm going to put a follow-up video to show the progress that I've been able to make by utilizing these exercises. I hope you find it helpful. Feel free to leave me some comments, suggestions, or questions, and happy practicing.